All right, joining me once again here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is my good friend Robin Marty. Robin is a journalist whose work has appeared in Rolling Stone, Politico, Dame, and much more. She is the co-author of the book Crow After Row, all of which you can find at robinmarty.com. You can also follow her on Twitter at Robin Marty. Robin, thank you so much for being on the show again.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
All right, so Robin, you actually wrote a really interesting piece recently for Cosmo entitled "Carly Fiorina is the candidate I wanted Hillary Clinton to be." There's a lot in this piece that I'd really like to discuss. So tell us what prompted you to write the piece.
Okay, so obviously it's been a widely read, very controversial. People feel very passionate about this piece, either for it or against it. What happened is the fact that this was written just after the second debate, and it was a few days after Fiorina had released her ad against Donald Trump, after Donald Trump had said, look at her face, who could elect her president, who would want to look at that face? And she put out what, frankly, was one of the most powerful ads that I've seen in a long time, speaking to women about how they are judged by their appearance, how they are judged by their character, and she totally embraced it. And when I was watching that ad, I found myself thinking, man, I really wish Hillary would do something like this. And obviously there are tons and tons of gender issues already involved in running for a political office. Just the fact that we keep referring to Carly and Hillary, but it's always Trump and it's Bush. There's a lot of that sort of thing going on there. But for those of us who were really championing a Hillary Clinton presidency, really excited about the idea that we could maybe finally break this glass ceiling, that this would be a candidate that women could really embrace, and then seeing a Hillary Clinton that doesn't seem comfortable with campaigning at this point, that doesn't seem comfortable with putting herself out there, that doesn't even honestly seem that comfortable for the most part with really using the first woman president card and really rallying women around her in that sort of way because she's so concerned about how that could affect the general election. That's been frustrating for a lot of us who really wanted that champion. I've had people remind me that, yes, I say, where is text for Hillary, Hillary? And that wasn't really Hillary Clinton. That was a campaign. That was a media thing by people that were not related to her at all. But I want a text for Hillary, Hillary Clinton to show up and start doing the really important, cold, strong feminist leadership that we need. So when you look at a Fiorina campaign, yes, you have this woman who is presenting in some ways like cookie cutter feminism, a woman who her policies don't match what she's saying. Her policies say, if you get pregnant, you should have to carry to term. You should have to give birth to that child. She says that your boss should be able to decide whether or not you should have access to birth control. She says that family leave should be completely up to an employer and shouldn't be a guaranteed right that all people should have, even if it does improve the economy and help women do better in an economic situation. That's bad feminism, but she's doing it strongly. And as I told the New York Times, when you have really bad feminism and then on the other side you have nothing, then sometimes you find that bad feminism a little appealing just because there's a vacuum and you have to fill that space.
No, that's true. And also it's really kind of important to look at just strictly looking at something politically. And again, both you and I know Carly Fiorina's policies, if she was elected president, would be a nightmare. Again, everything you were just going down, if you're just strictly talking about for women, it would be very, very bad. But like the idea that she is coming off pretty well, and actually, even though all of her Planned Parenthood attacks, she was lying about them, but she was acting like she knew what she was talking about. She sounded very convincing, and if you come across as convincing and knowing what you're talking about, that actually does go a long way of swaying people who maybe aren't even paying paying attention to whether or not what you're saying is true or actually false.
For sure. And I think that's one of the reasons why, at least mentally for me, the last debate was kind of a turning point, because obviously she was wrong, completely wrong about what she said in the Planned Parenthood tapes. And I know because I literally watched every single one of the unedited tapes. So I knew what was in there. The moment she said that, I'm like, that is not in any way, shape, or form true. She gave immense amounts of what sounded like very solid, very assured, very knowledgeable information on foreign policy. My understanding is a lot of it's wrong. I don't know. I don't know a lot of foreign policy. So it sounded really good. What we saw was this optics of a debate of a very strong, very powerful woman taking down a whole bunch of men. And that was what I was responding to. That was what I wanted to see from Hillary Clinton. And hopefully, I mean, I'm a Clinton fan. I don't think I've made any qualms about that. Hopefully, when the time comes for us to do our debates, we'll see the same thing. The problem is we may be able to do this when we have our own debates, but when that happens, we might not get the same response just because the things that Fiorina is allowed to do right now, she's allowed to play the woman card. She's allowed to be stone cold. She's allowed to be ballsy in a way that Hillary Clinton will not get the same opportunity, because the people who call out and call strength to be a shrew, who call being very knowledgeable to be a know-it-all, who say all these horrible things about women, are the people who are supporting Fiorina because they tend to be conservatives.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you and I both know, I mean, we've talked about, I'm not particularly a Clinton supporter. Right now I'm wanting Bernie, but I entirely acknowledge the fact that this, most everything you're saying in this article about sexism is 100% true and accurate. Okay, so we know for a fact that if Hillary does come out, I want Hillary to I think it's a shame and horrible that for some reason she's making this choice to do this. And I agree that I think she should come out, be the strong woman. I think that's the right thing to do, right? But so I don't think that hurts her necessarily in the Democratic primary if she were to actually, really push that forward. Does it really? I mean, because it's one of those things that I think it's also kind of a general problem overall with the Democratic Party is that they automatically start playing to sort of the right-wing response where it really doesn't matter what they say. No, Hillary could say anything. Hillary could bring out a plate of, cookies or something like that, and they'd be like, look at that horrible woman with her cookies. There literally is like nothing a Democrat can do to please the right-wing media. So why do Democrats even go there? You know what I mean? Possibly. I think that, and I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible, I've been a Democrat for a very long time. I still guarantee you, like, after the first debate, when's the first debate? October, you and I, let's do this again. We're going to meet, and I bet I can list at least 5 reactions from a Democrat that are all embedded with sexism to how Hillary performs. And it will come from Democrats. Yeah, I would probably bet along with you on that one, actually. But yeah, right, because we're just as bad. And I wish I knew why. Yeah. But this is why we haven't had a woman in the White House. This is why we only have, I believe, 4 female governors at this point. And of them, I think only one is the Democrats. This is why we don't have women in leadership. Because even when it comes to our own side, when we're supposed to be progressive and we're supposed to be pushing equality, men still want to win. And sorry, that's how it is. No, I mean, I again, as someone I've straight up not necessarily wanting Hillary. You're 100% right about and you're right, absolutely, in the sexism in the Democratic Party too. It's a protective thing. Patriarchy has, wow, I just totally went into the patriarchy card, but patriarchy has been in effect for so long that even the people who are supposed to be our allies will inevitably resort to sexism if they feel that their own power is being jeopardized. No, absolutely. What do you, so
I totally just shut you up. Sorry.
No. You know what? You didn't shut me up. I'm
Man.
No. I guess like we can't control what the other side does. Mm-hmm. So what is necessary? Because there are obvious real policy differences between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. So like right now they're the top two people, right? So yes. What is necessary for those on the left to make sure that the conversation is actually about policy differences and not about the sexist tropes that the right will do and that some on the left will also do? What's necessary other than just like, I guess calling out the sexism when it happens on our side and like really making sure that like, oh yeah, that you're being a complete sexist patriarchal jerk here. Well, but beyond that, is there something more to try to making sure that the actual differences are discussed with respect?
Every time I get into one of these interviews with you, we always get into this point where you're like, okay, Robin, you just said a whole bunch of things are really bad. Now fix it. and every time I'm like, I don't know how to fix it. If I knew how to fix it, I would be in politics instead of writing.
It just you're so smart, Robin. You're a smart person. I like talking big picture stuff with you.
The biggest issue is the fact that, honestly, when you get into the nuances, policy-wise, yes, they are different. When you compare policy-wise to Republicans, then obviously not so much of a difference.
Night and day, sure.
The problem is it's such nuance, and I want to say that it's progressives' issue, but inherently it's the fault of people like me. It's the media's issue. The media is the problem because policy takes a long time to explain. Sound bites don't. So when you start getting into politics, turns into soundbite politics. So it's easier to pick up a story that says XYZ from the Bernie Sanders campaign said Hillary looks a little bit tired during this debate, which is obviously coded language for old, weak, etc., etc. So yes, we need to call that out. We need to make sure that these narratives are positive. And the same thing could happen in the other direction. Obviously Bernie Sanders is I don't know, 80, 70? The same thing could work. Policy is something that is so nuanced that media people don't know how to explain it to a general audience, whereas they know that a quick soundbite is something that's way easier and will get more people to read. So what our advocates need to do is make sure that when they speak in policy, but they speak in understandable policy. So we have to speak in soundbite policy instead of just jabbing at each other. Right. We need to try everything that we can to make sure that we keep to topics instead of to personal attacks. That's always hard for everybody on all sides of the political aisle. And when sexism is called out, and when ageism is called out, when any of these isms is called out, instead of a defensive maneuver, we have to say, you're right, I'm looking at this now, that did happen, I apologize for that. That part is pretty simple. Acknowledge, apologize, move on.